So first of all, guys, good afternoon to everyone. So I'm very happy to share with me the experience I got during my ERC journey, which was a long one. And Maria just make a short introduction, but I think it's always nice to show you who I am in order that you understand this journey that we did with the ERC. Just to those who were in the previous session, you will see that I'm going to say a lot of things which are basically redundant to what Samuel was explaining, but I think it's important. So as you can see here, basically we just move from the left to the right. So I make my PhD in the University of Valencia in Spain. It's a beautiful place. Then I make my postdoc in Erlangen. I was I was Humboldt postdoc in that time, and then I was able to become what is called a militant or junior group leader. And during that time, 3 years, and then at this point, I just moved to India Materials as a senior researcher. So I was PI of my own group, and then I was also associated professor in Japan in Waseda University. And then since 2020, June, something like that, I'm already a chair in the Technical University of Munich. So if I tell you these things in numbers, basically, well, I was quite successful in terms of, you see here, papers, patents, awards, international reputation. I would say this is basically invitations, books, special issues, all these things that they are not really related to the papers, but it's important for us, and obviously funding, right? So you will see here, obviously you don't have anything when you're a PhD, you're a postdoc. I was Humboldt, so I was continue publishing good and etc. And no patents, several awards. And it was in that time that I have to apply for my first ERC. And I did it. I applied for it. It was starting. And the problem was here that we end up to be in a B in the step 1. And as Samuel was saying, that the important thing is to get to the interview. And I will tell you why this happened. The proposal was good, but you will see what happens with the rest of the things. And also Samuel was just telling you, don't invest all the time in the science, also in the other points. Well, then you get a penalty of 2 years. So I want to tell you what I did during these 2 years. You can see there was a huge jump in my scientific career in terms of publications and etc. and also funding. And then I apply again to the starting. This time it was okay. I went to the interview, but you got an A. And then but no funding, and then you got the consolidate. I'm going to tell you all the tricks or things that basically all my mistakes, where I learned and how I solved them. So having said that, the ERC starting, I got a 1, and in the step 1, I got a B. And they say, all of them, all the referees that I got, they were saying very interesting, novel timing, high gain, reasonable risk. Everything was mixing. I was just taking my experience from my PhD, taking my experience on the postdoc, trying to make something new, trying to show that it was feasible, trying to follow all these rules. However, the point was, the referees were just pointing out the following. They were saying, well, the field itself is a sort of infancy. So we cannot tell you really if this will be a huge impact or not. What was okay, there were a couple of papers, a couple of 2 or 3 science that were in this direction, so I wanted to explore more. Therefore, I make a mistake. I say I was exploring, and therefore I make a mistake to be too much exploratory. It looked like I was trying many things and trying to convince to look for the path, and I was making a mistake there. And then they would say, okay, well, actually he's trying to use specific approaches, but they are not really, they are basic. They are something the state of the art. And therefore, there is nothing that is unique in this proposal, rather than the idea that is already published and this guy that has the knowledge and could do it. But what is the new thing? And an important thing was I did not really was able to convince the people to say, whatever you publish, whatever is come out of this proposal is going to be interesting. And this was also what Samuel was just telling you at the beginning. So this is something very important. You have to engage the people to think that whatever you do in this proposal, which outcome you're going to get, positive or negative, it's going to be knowledge that can be created and can just use as a springboard for the next guys coming, or even for your next research. So all these things, they were critical points. Basically, I was selling very bad the scientific point of view, although the topic and the idea was interesting. Another mistake that I was doing, it was in my CV. Why I told you about this, that I got a lot of papers during my PhD, during the postdoc, several awards, and even I got a bit of funding during the postdoc session, etc. I was not really enlightening them too much. So what happens in my CV is they just put very good. And this is a big mistake, because imagine that you have two guys with similar proposals, similar topics, I want to say. And one of the guys in the CV is outstanding and you're just very good. Well, then this guy will be the winner in this situation, right? So I thought, and it was a mistake, that just to mention my list of publications and to show a couple of summary of my strengths will be good enough. And actually it is not. They told me, not really, it's not understanding all the publications you got. You have to basically put the publications and also to explain why they are so important and why they are related to also for the proposal important. I will just go to this point in a second. International impact, they told me was very good. And they say, well, because I was making a mistake. And again, I want to go again to this. This is like a mantra like. So first of all, I put my awards, yes, I make a list of them, but I didn't explain how important they are. And that's an important thing. Also, I didn't explain that some of my papers were already highlighted in society, in some TV or magazines, newspaper, or just a specialized web page, anything that is counting. Also, I was not really highlighting that I was a Humboldt, and even I applied for a junior thing for getting some funding. I was not really showing all these things. So basically, I thought about only one thing: impact factor, many papers possible, number of citations, all the things that they will tell you for getting a Humboldt or for getting a postdoc, but not for this. This will say something different. They're looking for a leader in the field, and they are looking for someone who's really making an impact. And this you have to show in your CV. And therefore, well, what I get from this is actually, I get that the ERC is a long run. This is what a good friend of mine told me. And I wanted to tell you what does mean a long run afterwards at the end, in the last slide. And I think I learned one thing on this. It was, okay, the idea is good, but it's also you. And there are both things. The synergy between you and your idea is what makes the ERC successful or not. Then, as a researcher, I can still say I do not have any nature. I have a nature communication, by the way, but I don't have any nature and science. And I can tell you that I try quite hard to get several of them and never work out. But I was always corresponding of all the publications that I was doing since I was junior researcher, and also I try to keep a track of publications. Doesn't matter if you get 5 publications every year or 25. The important thing is that they see that you are a researcher who is doing and is keeping constant, and you are all the time continue working on your field. I focus on a new idea that I have during these 2 years, and I also focus on getting this proof of concept and related papers. And again, it's not important that the paper is a nature science. The important thing is that the paper is published in a good journal, and that you get an impact, that you get citations, that you get invitations. Obviously, I ensure some funding in order to keep my laboratory running, and to give also the possibility of feasibility on the idea. Of course, an ERC is a big amount of money, and this is nice for us. But well, you started with always small amounts of grants that you can do small things, and then you show that your proof of concept is really working, and then you are going to develop something bigger. Another trick that I always say to everyone and to all my postdocs and all the people is, I was just trying to make the most I can with the money I have. And this means every time that I went to a conference, I was really thinking about to make at least 2 or 3 talks a part of one of the conference during this time. What does it mean? Well, I prefer to stay a bit longer or a bit earlier of the conference, and then try to look for best universities around and look for people with whom I could collaborate, and to say, hey guys, I'm going to go there for this conference. I would love to go to your department and make a talk. And then you get an invited letter that you are invited to go there, and then typically you also get good connections. And I have to say, I make very good friends in this way. Another important thing a good friend of mine told me is, you are very young with many papers, but if you want to get more reputation, you should start to think about issues, special issues in highly reputed journals. And he also mentioned to write a book, actually something I have in mind. So I wrote a book during this time. It was a funny story with a good beer, I can tell you. But all these things is just because of reputation. Afterwards, you can just put it in your CV in order to demonstrate that the people, the community, respect you a lot, because otherwise they will never allow you to get at a book or to contribute to a special issue, and etc. Another thing I was doing, I was quite limited in terms of teaching duties, and teaching is, well, it's not a must, but it's always interesting because this is part of our formation as academics. So what I did was try to get involved myself through these collaborations into teaching duties, teaching the master course and something like that. And this also opens you the possibility to get visiting fellowships. You became an assistant professor, visiting professor, whatever, fellow, and this is also again reputation to you, to your CV, and it's helping. And actually, most of the research institutes will allow you to make for short stage some teaching duties, and this is also gaining your CV very good. So, and also I was involved a lot in outreach activities. That is something I also say to my people. That is very important as a scientist, to show that you are you make the promotion of science and trying to put the science close to the society. This means dissemination actions and all things. So all the things you can do, it's nice. And it's actually recommended because this is the engagement that is expected from a big scientist. So with these things, it passed 2 years. I improved a bit my funding, but then I apply again to my ERC. So I make my proof of concept of the papers. I make my dissemination. I was just making all this trouble. So I was preparing actually the possibility to get it. And then is how you get invited, the first thing. Well, I also learned the B1 is the most important thing. Actually, this is what I also right now. I invest a lot of time helping other colleagues to in this specific plan. B1 is 5 pages, so it's quite limited. So I will suggest you the following sketch, but this is actually free. This is just my suggestion. Basically, is okay, guys. You focus on the state of the art, 2 paragraphs, a problem statement, an answer statement, and what makes your proposal unique. And for this, for example, you get this kind of a nice table. Tables are helping me a lot. The same for figures, where you state of the art, your strategy, and what you expect beyond the state of the art. And obviously, this goes to the goals. And for the goals, I would suggest 2-3 sentences, but everyone can take as much as they need. I also like to have a figure concept in order to relax. Basically, the referee, when the person is reading, this is the first page, and then you just get a picture, and then this relaxes and gives you the whole concept, because afterwards you're going to have your work package description, right? Which for the B1, it's necessary because you have to have it, but it's quite limited to 1 page. You have to be very precise when your words are using, and never refer to the B2. Yes, always put all necessary information to the B1. Then you use a bit of time, a bit of space for budget, equipment, and collaborators. Especially in collaborators, you should specify why they are so relevant, and you should not put too many, in my opinion. Budget and equipment, you just mention them in terms of lines. How much in personnel, how much in direct costs, how much indirect costs, etc. And then you have also an important part, which is the feasibility. You have to convince the reader and the referee in that moment that the scientific idea is worthy, that the impact, the gain is going to be high. The plan, the risk, all these things have to be clearly stated also in this half a page. And you can just do it by bullets. This is highly recommended, actually. Your CV. And your CV, again, use bullets and figures if you want, but leave clear which are the key scientific figures. And you have to put your research ID, your author, etc. You can use the Google. We know it's a bit higher. It's fine. Just mention it and put it, but put it clearly. Try to use referee journals. Don't use this kind of the ones of proceedings, etc. This does not really count. So yeah, try to focus for those things. Make your awards clear. Why award is a relevant thing? Number of applicants that were there, the success rate, anything that they can just highlight the relevance of this award is very welcome, because we don't know what, I mean, I know from Spain, from Germany, even from England, but I cannot tell you about in France, for example, if there is a special award for junior people. So why not you just highlight this is a super important, prestigious award because 2,000 applicants and only a success rate of 1%. for example, something like that. Then I can just get an impression about how relevant it is. For a consolidator, it's supposed that you have supervised students, but don't say I supervise 25 PhD students. I will say this is an impressive number, yes. If you can just also say that it is within the first 5 years, or the last 5 years, sorry, that's very impressive, actually. But it's much more impressive to me when I read these things is how good they are. So if you say that your PhDs, you supervise 3, but one is now professor, assistant professor in MIT, the other one is, I don't know, a CEO of a big company, the other one is working also in BASF, well, I will tell you that this guy is forming people in a very good way. And these people are actually getting out. So this is really what you want, because this is what this guy is doing, forming PhD students for the academia, for the industry, and they are successful. And if you have many of them, at the end, it's not only one that is very good, it's because you are also forming them very good. And as I said, international impact. This is the important thing. Invited lecture, seminar, conference, put the details, where, year, who, all these things. And invited lectures in a department, in a colloquium, it's also nice. It's also, it's an invited seminar, actually. So you support it. Memberships, commissions where you have been working, this is all taking your time from research, but it's also important so that the people trust on you. Visiting professor, visiting fellows, again, you can highlight some of the awards the most relevant. If you were a guest editor and a book, the impact of your research in the society. So I told you about these impacts. In other words, it's you. That's the important thing at the end of the day. And then in the early track record, the second part, well, you can just make a clear presentation of your scientific record or your scientific life. Yes, I will always recommend half a page maximum, even a quarter, where you explain these things. You must highlight your scientific papers and why they are so important for the proposal. And don't try to go for a long explanation. Just a very concise explanation. This is a seminal work which is used for the work package, blah, blah, blah. Or is the seminal work on the landmark, whatever words you want to use, but only just to show them. It's, in my opinion, the impact factor does not really count. I really love inorganic chemistry, it's not a really huge impact factor. And I really love advanced materials, which is a huge impact factor. So, but the important thing here is how relevant is this paper? And then obviously, if you have high citations, just mention them. If you have a high impact factor, well, you can also mention. I mean, technological transfer, if you have patents related to the project, put them. That's an important thing. If you have patents, we don't care. Because, okay, these patents are just for other things. You can just put them, but don't highlight them. If you have the space, you can use it. The ability to attract funding. Remember, they ask you for the ongoing funding or what you have applied. But if you have funding from the past, this is the place where you have to put it. Don't forget it. Because even if this is over and is kind of related to the project and is over, well, this is just giving you more visibility to the project. Somebody already give you money, you get papers, and now you advance on your idea. And also allocate enough research time. You will ask your institution, they will tell you around 50 to 70%. I mean, between them, I would say. More than that is, more than 70% is not very realistic. So basically, the early track record is about you again, but also about how the impact and the feasibility of your proposal and your idea will be. Okay, and with these tricks, well, all the guys rank me as outstanding. This means that, I mean, you get in a best position just to move to the interview, right, to the B2. Well, in the B2 part, is expanding the B1. So if you have the B1, the B2 is kind of easier because you have the freedom to explain yourself much better. And actually, again, the same table applies. The one of the expected results beyond the state of the art. A table 2 that is also interesting for me is the scientific, technological impact, and the competitiveness in terms of the European. And then a table 3, which is mandatory, risk, gain, and the actions to minimize it. I move for Maria, don't worry. Yeah. I know. Give me 1-2 minutes more and that's it. Well, and then, as I said, the work package description is basically give again all the details that you couldn't give to the work pack in the work package description in B1, just put it there and spend all the time that you need there. Especially describe your team. Something that helps me a lot when I'm also for the presentation, that is another topic, is a PhD student might have a title. And a title is part of your research. So if you develop a task which is specifically developing a molecule for something, this will be the PhD title of the person. And therefore, it's much easier to defend it. And people will notice that you are really funding a group in your ERC, which is important. And expand the feasibility as much details as you can for 1 page, or even with 2 pages. 2 pages is too much. I will say 1 page. Okay, an important thing is budget here. Just tell you a couple of important things. Is basically you need to justify the PhDs, which is easy if you have already put the titles of your PhD through the work packages. Not literally put the title, it's just the idea of the PhD is the work package. Take into account one thing that is covered, the salary must increase over time. So who is going to pay for that, especially for northern countries? Your salary, it can be included, but people are not stupid. So if you put 300,000 for you and you are paid by the government, well, this money afterwards you can use it, but somebody can complain. So just try to be fair as possible. Equipment, I mean, Samuel already said, put whatever you need, and that's all, and well justified to the proposal. Even ask for the extra budget if it is necessary. Ask for the quotations, take into account the depreciation costs, because you will get what you ask for, nothing else. An important thing is at the end, the overheads. Who is going to get them? You or the institution? Well, this is something that you could negotiate. Depending on the country, you can get the pleasure to get it or not. So with this is my last slide. I said the ERC is a long run. So it's about you and your idea. A long run is basically this. It's a period of all the factors are variable. So this means you just adjust yourself to this and to work with that. Once you finish, you will give a very good impression in the interview. That's super important. But you also have other factors, like, for example, you choose wrongly the panel, and then, well, they don't feel like this is the right one. You can also have number of applicants for the same topic, and therefore they have to choose 1 or 2 proposals in the same topic, and you have not been the selected one. That doesn't mean your proposal is not good. You get an A, you apply next. The timing is very important, obviously, and many other factors that can happen during the discussions, because obviously the budget is limited, and they have to share this budget as much as possible and to spread it. So with this, guys, if you get an A in the second, just keep up the hard work, and you will get it the next one. So